This is going to be an exciting week. So let's start by talking about the system that we've had installed. So up on the roof there are 15 solar panels. They're 415 watt panels, so a total of just over 6.2 kilowatts peak of generation capacity. They're across three aspects of the house. So we live in a fairly normal semi-detached house in the south of England, and we're lucky enough to have a south-facing part of our roof. So we have 5 panels on the south facing end, and then we have 5 on the east and 5 on the west. So hopefully that should give us a pretty good spread of generation throughout the day. We also have a Tesla Powerwall 2, which is a 13.5 kilowatt hour battery system, and a Tesla Gateway, which allows the battery to act as a backup for the home if the power grid goes down. We have a 5 kilowatt Solis inverter, which converts the DC power generated by the solar panels into AC that the house can use. So why did we have this system installed? Well, for me, there are really 3 reasons. The first one is the reduction of our carbon emissions. So I've kind of become slightly obsessed with the idea of reducing the impact that we have on the planet as much as possible. And so reducing our CO2 emissions is a really big part of that. There's still a lot more to do, and I will be documenting that as the channel goes along. The second reason is, I guess, energy independence. So the fact that we now have the ability to continue to run the house if the power grid goes down is quite important to me. We live in a reasonably rural area, and so it's not all that unusual for the power to be out for an extended period of time. So it's really nice to be able to not have to worry about that anymore. The final reason is financial. Obviously, having outlaid a lot of money into this system, we are massively reducing our bills. We have an EV, so we can use the energy from the solar panels on sunny days to charge the car and really save ourselves both home energy costs and also fuel costs that way. So let's have a quick look at some statistics. This is the Tesla app. If we go into the solar display and switch to year, you'll see these are the 3 months that we've had the system installed. In that time, we've generated just over 2 megawatt hours of energy. You can see that July has been the best month, with August close behind. Both those months were pretty damp and rainy in the UK. And September has been a bit less, but still not too bad. If we switch now to the grid view, you'll see that across those 3 months, we only imported a tiny bit in July, and I'll explain why that is in a minute. And then in August and September, we imported a little bit more, and you'll be able to see a different view of that in another app, which I'll show you shortly. So in terms of July, if I switch to month view and then go across to July, you'll see that the only grid import we had in July was on the very first day of the month, and that was actually before the system was commissioned. That was charging our car from the grid before the system was turned on. So apart from that one day, for the whole of July, we were completely off grid. August, we did charge the car from the grid. It was mainly because we had a few sort of longer trips to do. And then if you have a look at September, there's just a few days in September where I've experimented with charging the Powerwall from the grid when the solar forecast for the next day has been less good. You'll see in here, it looks like there's a little bit of data missing towards the end of the month. This appears to be a bug in newer versions of the Tesla app where it occasionally just sort of loses a day of data and that then reappears a little bit later in the month. Bit of an odd one. So we're on Octopus on their Go tariff, which gives us 4 hours of cheap rate electricity overnight. This is a really excellent third-party Octopus app called Octoaid, which gives you all sorts of interesting breakdowns of your energy usage. The most interesting thing here, if we go to the usage tab and switch to last 90 days, then you can see here that 98.9% of our usage across the last 3 months has been off-peak. So that means that almost all of the energy we've used has either been generated by the solar panels or has been bought during that 4-hour cheap rate window, which is somewhere between 3 and 4 times cheaper than the standard rate. So that's both a really good financial saving, but also on average electricity tends to be less carbon intensive overnight because there's less demand. So this should hopefully have helped with reducing our carbon footprint as well. So this was really just a short video to introduce myself, introduce the channel. So if home energy and home automation and that kind of thing is something that interests you, then please do consider subscribing. I'll be making lots more videos. The next one is likely to be about looped supplies and the kind of problems that can cause and how they can be resolved. So I'll see you in the next video.